Good morning, how are you? Thank you for listening to me, my little ramble this morning. And so last night, the director that I take him in, I drive the director to the performances the play that I'm doing, in case you haven't listened to these before. And it's in Kew, the National Archives. It's where the 1921 census is all stored, and you can go and do all your England and Wales genealogy. But last night the director was saying that he never gave anybody feedback on their performance because he didn't like it when he was an actor. And so I said, well, why don't you give a feedback sandwich to people? In other words, tell them something good about what they were doing, tell them what you want to change, and then tell them something good again. And then he proceeded to tell me that was great, but I needed to be louder when I stood at the back. So, okay, fine. But it was absolutely brilliant. So my advice to get a feedback sandwich was actually put on me right away. So hopefully other people got their feedback sandwich. But yeah, if you're going to give bad news, feedback sandwich is quite a good one. To make sure you give the positive things about people, and then where you'd like that little bit of improvement, and then the positive again, because ultimately most people are 9 out of 10. Nobody's like a 2 out of 10, are they? Otherwise they probably wouldn't be working with you. So most people are about a 9.5, or and you're just wanting a little marginal improvement. So make sure that comes across that way. And I'm going to, there's a link here to leadership as well, which I was as a conference I was on, but I'll come to that in a minute. But last night the show. I didn't get any feedback. You never get feedback when you're on a stage and performing, much like work, where you don't get somebody, you've had a good presentation. Nobody comes up to you and say, that was a really good presentation, or very rarely. So last night, I did get feedback. There was a guy chasing me down, as we were leaving. Hey, you! I'm looking up and he's pointing down at me. You were brilliant. Oh my God, oh, you made my night, mate. He says, oh, he was an English guy, he didn't talk like me. He says, I take it you're Scottish. And I said, yeah. He says, oh yeah, nobody else could probably get that accent the way you did, amazing. So he was really impressed that I actually got the character right. And then when I told a few other actors, they also said, oh yeah, I'd been friends in the night before, and they were saying, I wasn't Fife Robertson. Fife Robertson was me. So it was an ultimate compliment. So I really, obviously a lot of hard work's gone into it, and then, it's only basically a small week of performance, and then it's over, it's done. Saturday is the last 2 performances, and then it's over and done with after all that effort. So it's a bit like project management, where there's the forming, norming, storming, performing, and then the morning. So the morning's coming. We're doing the performing, and then it'll be the morning after it. Yeah, but such is life, and we move on. But it's been a great experience, and I'm now energized for even more. But yeah, reward and threat. Now, Diane Lowther works for Brilliant Minds. She's on my LinkedIn. Have a look and follow her. And she'd been studying neuroscience for a long time. And before that, time management. When I was, probably some of you will remember Time Managers. Remember Time Managers? They came out about the time of Filofaxes, and these time managers were basically, structuring everything in terms of your diary, your to-do list, and it was a good system. Really, it was a bit like Filofax in terms of you got the documentation with it as well. So she used to be doing that initially, but then she moved more into neuro-linguistic programming and the practitioner training that she would give, and she'd work with some of the best in the business. So she's always been doing that. Now I recommend go and listen to some of our YouTube, go on some of our courses. There's some coming up, even taster days, and then 1-day sessions that she's got coming up. really, really good for the mind, and I always enjoy listening to some of the sessions that she's got. So there was a session the other day there, and quite rightly highlighting what leadership are all points that we should be reminding ourselves of. Reward and threat, and now this is the way the brain works. So remember, it's not, this isn't just leadership talk from a point of view of words. This is really how how we're connected physically and connected to our brains, and if we are in terms of being rewarded, reward versus threat, the threat being fight or flight, or reward being giving positive feedback and building people up. Your brain opens up more. There's better connections in the brain. You solve problems better. Everybody would probably agree with that. There's nothing new there. However, that's actually physically wired to our positive responses. So that's good news for us. And threat is when you actually shut down your field of vision, your analytical part shuts down, your short-term memory stops, and so therefore that's probably quite good for firefighting, whatever. But remember, if actually your short-term memory is lost, well, you're actually not going to be as good as someone who's in upbeat and reward state, who are actually looking to solve problems from a positive perspective. So and as leaders, we're in that threat zone, then we're actually passing it down onto our colleagues. So if we're always in that threat zone, you're always firefighting, then we're probably not as effective as just being relaxed and going into those particular situations a little bit differently, to get the best out of our colleagues and actually get better results. So we need to sharpen up as leaders and lighten up, get headspace, get some motivation, watch our moods and our emotions in our communication as well, especially written communication, because you think you're saying something in a particular way, but actually it's being received in the tone of voice that's in the recipient's head of you. Now, if you're always seen as a moody bugger, and then so you're very curt in an email, then that's going to come off as almost like a demand, or more threatening than you actually perceive it to be. So you always watch that end of your communication. So I've said enough about Diane. I think she's brilliant, so go and read more. Lastly, I've been working on Lomond Radio. I've just got a few notes down here. So please go and listen to that. I know lots of people are and giving me good feedback, so thanks for that. I've got Around the World in 10 Songs, which is a theme around the world in 80 days, and actually tracks the actual route, and then plays a song from those routes, and it's like Singapore and Hong Kong and the South China Sea. So yeah, have a look at that. And Union Blues, which is all about the breakup of the United Kingdom. Obviously Wales and Scotland are obviously moving ahead. Northern Ireland looks like they're going in a similar direction. So what happens in that breakup? So please look out for that one. I've got loads stacking up. I've done one this morning, Old and Wise. I'm realising I'm getting to that stage where I've probably got a lot of wisdom that I could pass on to people, or what would I say to my 25-year-old self if I was to give that old question. So it's things around that. It's quite emotional when you go into that and you then listen to the words. This particular song is When I'm Old and Wise, and I actually feel as if I'm there now. Another one is Silly Games, which is great for just having a laugh and just songs that are just silly, like Eric the Half a Bee from Monty Python. A, B, C, 1, 2, 3, Eric the Half a Bee. Sometimes just silly song is just as good as a really nicely wordy one. Holiday is another podcast coming up, and obviously as we're heading towards holiday, a nice holiday theme one. War, obviously we're in the middle of it, so it's not always sweetness and light. We've got a bit of war, and there's songs around that, like Manic Street Preachers, if you tolerate this, then your children will be next, and Stars, which is a lot of the I think I throw in the Eurovision Song Contest winner there, but also things like David Bowie's Space Oddity and All About the Stars in Space, which I'm a big fan on, and Professor Brian Cox, and Mind Blown, which is basically some random songs that are just literally they damage your brain listening to it, so you'll probably not like that one. Just skip through it if you don't like it. But yeah, there's some weird stuff out there, and I want to put that in Mind Blown. And then two others. There's something about film, which is some of my favourite films and the music to them. One of the ones I'll play is Out of Africa, which was stunning. Meryl Streep, what a film. So I'll tell you more about that film and why I like that particular theme tune. And then there's something about theatre. Obviously, there's even one from Gerard Butler, would you believe? So obviously that's not the film, he's theatre. And I actually didn't know he did a version of this, so and obviously he's a good Scots guy, so I've got a few others like that, but I was surprised how good he was. And then I've got New June, which is basically anything that's been released that's kind of new tracks. So I'm sort of thinking of bringing some of the new stuff for you. But actually today, would you believe, is Harry Styles' album. I was actually looking at it, and then half an hour later I looked on Twitter, and he'd literally just announced that it's actually released. So today is the day that he released it. Now my son's partner and I had a discussion about a month ago, I think it was, and she was comparing him to a young Mick Jagger, and I thought, no, my God, he's never going to he's only got a few albums. He's not going to be that amazing. But actually, I almost ate my words when I listened to it this morning, because it is pretty damn good. And but I don't know. I don't think it's a Mick Jagger. However, he seems to. He will have a bit of a career in this business, I'm sure. I think that was it. Let's just look down. Oh yeah. So some of the songs I actually got emotional writing. There was a song that reminded me of my daughter, and I was like, I was sending her a WhatsApp, saying, I'm actually crying about you. It was basically Father of the Bride, where you actually he sees Steve Martin, and he sees his older daughter getting married, but then he pans back and the camera looks at her again, and she's actually a 7-year-old girl. She's been replaced with the 7-year-old version of her, and that's the way he kind of sees her. Dad, I'm getting married, and he just sees this 7-year-old girl, and it's like, it's so sweet. And that's how I always it reminds me of my daughter as well. Obviously she's a lot older now, and she's got her own children. So I was getting a bit emotional. And then there was another song with it was from Land Before Time, which was effectively Diana Ross, and that was a children's movie my kids watched all the time, but it was just such a powerful song from Diana Ross. I'm like, oh my God! I'm getting a bit old and emotional. So but there's some other great ones. But it brings back strong memories of your own children, or even your own vulnerabilities. So I don't mind that. I don't mind. I'm now old enough and wise enough not to worry about my emotions coming out. In fact, I think because of this performance this week, I'm very much connected with my emotions, and as you play different characters, you start to sort of readjust your emotions. So anyways, great fun. Right, that's all. So listen to lowmanradio.com, and then watch out for go and see what Dan Lowther's doing in leadership, and make sure you reward those people that are working with you every day. Give them there's things we have here where I'm working, and that's you can give them feedback, and you give them rewards, sort of points and all that. But just say thanks for your hard work.